Hello and welcome to my modern medieval kitchen. This is where I will take medieval and Renaissance recipes and make in my modern kitchen with my modern equipment. So today we are going to make sops with peas. And before we'll start, I'd like to tell you what sops actually are, because you might haven't heard of it before, at least I hadn't. But sops is you take a piece of old, preferable dry bread and fry it on a pan with butter, and then you put something on it. And today we are going to make them with peas. So today's recipes come from Scappis opera, and for different reasons I am deviating a bit from the original recipe. But I'm going to tell you where and why I am deviating a bit. But let's see today's ingredients. So these are today's ingredients. Over here we have the bread. I have chosen a sourdough bread from a local bakery. It's supposed to be a bit dry, but even though this is like 4 days old, it's still very soft and moist. So yeah, I guess that's the perks of buying good quality bread, but it will work still fine. And then I have the butter, and over here is all the ingredients for the peas. I have, of course, the peas, and this is where I will have the first deviation, because Scappi is telling us to use dry peas. But here in the modern world, we doesn't really use dry peas anymore. We just have like fresh peas, or at least fresh peas from the freezer. So I have just defrosted some peas. And then I have an onion. Scappi is telling us to use spring onions, but my local supermarket didn't, for some odd reason, have any spring onions. So I'm just going to use a normal onion. Then in here I have some chicken stock. Any stock will do, but I like chicken stock. Then I have some fresh herbs. Scappi is just telling us fresh herbs, so you can use anything you like. I like thyme and parsley, so that's what I've been chosen. Then I have some raisins. Scappi is actually using currants, but since currants ain't in like season right now, I have just found some raisins. They will have like the same sweetness that currants is giving to the dish. Raisins are a bit bigger than currants, so I might chop them up a bit so they have like the right size. And then I have sugar, and yeah, you heard right, sugar. This isn't a sweet dish. This is supposed to be a savory dish, but since sugar is a luxury in medieval and Renaissance times, they have a tendency to put sugar in everything. And I have already, with the sugar and the spices, measured them up so that for this amount of peas you are going to use this amount of sugar. Yeah, it's a bit weird, and I'm going to talk a bit more about that. But I will give you all the measurements for the ingredients down in the description. And then I have some salt, and I have some almonds. They are going to be mortified, so if you just have almonds flour, that will be perfectly fine. I just didn't have any almond flour, so I'm just going to use them whole and then grind them up in my mortar. And then again we have the weird thing with the measurements, because all of this pepper is going into this amount of peas, and the same goes for this cinnamon. Like, to be honest, these are insane amounts of pepper and cinnamon. And I gotta be totally honest with you, I am not going to use that amount of pepper, cinnamon or sugar in this dish, because believe me, I already tried it and it's not fit for modern taste. It tastes nicely. The three things are like balancing each other out, but you can't taste the peas at all. But I just wanted to show you that this is what Scappi is telling us to do. But with everything, just taste it and see what you like, and definitely don't add all the spices at once. Add a little, taste it, and then add a little again to see what you like. And one last thing is that Scappi actually is also mentioning saffron. To be honest, when I was shopping for today, I really dreaded the saffron because I'm a bit tired of the taste of saffron. Medieval people put saffron in everything, but when I came to the shelf with the spices and saffron, they were unfortunately sold out of saffron. But if you like to put saffron in it, you can go back to look at some of my other videos where I'm using saffron, but in general you just put it in a mortar, grind it and dissolve it with a bit of boiling water, and then you add it when you're also adding the other spices. But I won't be using that today. First thing first, I am going to boil the peas, but since they are not dry but more or less fresh, I only need to boil them for like a minute or two. And while I am boiling the peas, I can chop up the onion and the fresh herbs. So now I will take the onion and quickly saute them on a pan with butter. And while doing that, I can take my hand blender. I have this add-on for my hand blender, and I will make the almonds into almond flour. You can also just use a mortar or a knife or whatever you have, or you can just buy almond flour. And I might also give the raisins a quick tour so that they will be a bit smaller. So the last thing to be done before mixing everything together is grinding the pepper. And as I said, I am not going to use all the pepper. I'm going to grind some of it, and then I'm just going to use only the amount that I actually think is suitable for the dish. So now I will be ready to assembling the peas with all the spices and different sort of things. I got the peas with the stock over here, but since we're not going to use all of the stock, I will like drain them, putting the stock back in the pot, just leaving some of the stock. We can always add a bit more stock if needed. So now I have to mash the peas, and then combine all the ingredients. If you want a totally smooth consistency, you can just use your hand blender or normal blender and make totally smooth consistency. Otherwise, if you want some texture or a more authentic feel, I have found out that a potato masher is working quite nicely. So yeah, now I'll just mash the peas and combine all the other ingredients in. And once again, I would like to state, do not use all the spices at once. Add a little, taste it, and see what you like, because this is an insane amount of pepper, cinnamon, and sugar. Do not use it all if you're not like totally in love with those spices. So as you can see, I did not use all of the spices, just as I told you. This is what I have left of the sugar, the cinnamon and the pepper. I could add in more ingredients. Feel free to add more if you like it. And as I also said in the beginning, there's also supposed to be saffron in it. So you can just add the saffron at this stage. So the last thing to be done before this dish is ready to be eaten is to fry a piece of bread in butter on a frying pan. Of course you can just use a toaster if you like, but frying the bread with butter on a pan makes it way more delicious. So please treat yourself doing that. So here you have it, Scappis sops with peas. Well, that actually might not be all, because I do have a twist up in my sleeve. Because Scappi's recipe is telling us to fry the bread on a pan and serve the peas on the bread. But I do also have a Danish recipe that says that you take the peas without any spices and everything, but you take some mashed peas and a piece of bread. You take the bread, dip it in the peas, and then you fry it on the pan. So let's try doing that. So here you have the two editions of sops with peas. The Scappi edition, where you just have a piece of fried bread with the peas on it, and then the twisted Danish version, where you dip the bread in the peas and then you fry it. So thank you very much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed it. Stay tuned for next episode where I will make sops with mushrooms.